Imagine cities that intuitively adapt to your every need. Spaces that just know how to become safer, more enjoyable, and, well, truly inclusive.
Yeah.
This isn't science fiction anymore, is it?
No, not really. The rapid evolution of our urban environments, it's getting a major upgrade. And a lot of that is happening with the help of artificial intelligence.
Right.
Indeed. Today, we're taking a deep dive into exactly that, how AI is reshaping urban design and planning.
And we've got some fascinating sources.
We do. From detailed frameworks for, human-centered AI to an actual conference schedule chock full of cutting-edge research.
And even a classic philosophical text looking at the psychological side of city life.
Mhm.
Really interesting stuff.
Absolutely.
So our mission today is pretty clear. Let's try to unpack how AI can help build these truly responsive, human-centered cities,
Mhm.
and also explore that critical balance needed, right, to
Yeah.
ensure this powerful tech serves people and the planet.
Not just cold, hard efficiency.
So what does this all actually mean for the future of the places we live, work, and, play?
Well, I think at its core, human-centered AI design. It's really an approach that prioritizes the well-being, the accessibility, and the dignity of every single individual in urban environments.
Okay, so it's a big shift.
It is. It's moving away from seeing cities just as these sort of mechanical systems that you optimize purely for raw efficiency.
Right. So the AI becomes more like a sophisticated listener. Is that fair to say?
That's a great way to put it. It's designed to truly listen and learn from human behavior, from our preferences, and from the environment itself.
Okay.
And the ultimate goal here, it isn't just smarter buildings or, faster traffic.
No.
It's healthier, more connected communities. That's the aim.
That makes sense. So how does AI actually enhance this, like in practical terms?
Well, there are some incredibly practical applications. Let's start with, say, responsive public spaces. We're talking about AI-powered sensors and analytics that are monitoring how people actually use parks, plazas, other public areas.
And that data then lets designers, what, adapt things.
Precisely. Adapt layouts almost in real time, making spaces safer, more accessible, and genuinely more enjoyable.
So you could have like lighting that adjusts automatically based on foot traffic.
Exactly. Or shaded seating areas that shift position with the sun. It's not just convenience.
No, it sounds like it's creating spaces that kind of intuitively understand and respond to us.
Yes, fostering that sense of safety and welcome. And we're already seeing this. There's research from places like Zurich using drone vision and machine learning to analyze urban morphology.
So the physical structure of the city.
Right, the structure and also spatial behavior, how people actually move and interact within it.
Fascinating.
It's quite transformative.
Mm.
But it's not just about making spaces feel better. Human-centered AI also pushes us to ensure those spaces are truly open to everyone.
Okay, so that brings us to accessibility.
Exactly. Accessible infrastructure. AI allows urban planners to simulate how individuals with different mobility needs might navigate a space.
Ah, okay, so you can test things out virtually first.
You can. And this sounds like a really powerful way to make sure cities are genuinely inclusive, right?
Yeah.
For people with disabilities, parents with strollers, elderly residents, everyone.
How specifically does AI help anticipate those needs? I mean, beyond simulation.
Well, it helps immensely. For instance, the simulations can lead to much better optimal curb ramp placements or better elevator configurations.
Right.
And you mentioned research. The conference schedule we looked at included work on predicting changes in elderly housing needs using AI.
Ah, yes, using large-scale model training. What does that actually mean?
It means feeding just vast amounts of data to an AI, letting it detect really nuanced patterns, things humans might miss, like anticipating shifts in elderly housing needs before they become obvious problems.
So it's about being proactive, not just reacting.
Exactly. Being proactive.
That makes perfect sense. Okay, so AI is also changing community-informed design. You mentioned natural language processing, NLP.
Yes, NLP tools. They can analyze huge amounts of text, public comments, surveys, even social media data.
To figure out what people actually want.
Basically, yeah. To extract insights about community desires, understand public sentiment, help prioritize equity.
And make sure public money reflects what diverse voices are actually asking for.
Precisely. It's about giving a much clearer, amplified voice to the community.
That feels like a huge leap forward for, democratic planning.
It could be.
Our sources mention blueprints for integrating generative AI in community consultations. Could AI actually help process all that feedback or even draft proposals?
That's the idea. Generative AI could potentially help process mountains of public feedback, quickly identify key themes, or even, yes, draft initial proposals that reflect community input.
Making the whole consultation process much more efficient
Yeah.
and responsive.
Right. And there's other fascinating work too, like using AI for digitization and analysis of collective memory.
In Iznik, Turkey, that was the example.
Yes. Using AI to understand those deep historical and cultural connections within a community. Really digging deep.
Wow. Okay, and one more crucial area. Climate conscious planning. How's AI helping there?
Well, AI is proving invaluable. It supports resilient design by modeling how things like extreme heat or flooding or pollution might affect different communities differently.
So it allows planners to see vulnerabilities much more clearly.
Much more clearly. And that enables truly equitable climate adaptation strategies.
So we're talking about things like strategically planting trees in areas really vulnerable to heat waves.
Exactly that. Or figuring out where to elevate infrastructure in flood-prone neighborhoods to protect against rising waters.
And this isn't just theory, right? Didn't Singapore use this?
Yes, Singapore used urban simulation to evaluate sustainable development scenarios, looking at energy use, greenhouse gas emissions.
Copenhagen, too, I think, for climate adaptation.
That's right. Specifically looking at things like green roofs and urban wetlands. And there's even research digging into the relationship between urban form and residential building carbon emissions.
So really understanding how the city's shape impacts its carbon footprint. It's all about designing for a resilient, sustainable future.
It is. So AI offers these incredibly powerful tools for optimization, for automation, creating these potentially amazing, smart, efficient urban environments.
But there's always a but.
There is. Here's where it gets, I think, really thought-provoking. What happens when we optimize too much? How do we balance all this data with, well, empathy and address the potential pitfalls?
This is where we take that surprising detour back over a century ago.
Right.
The sociologist George Simmel, in his work The Metropolis and Mental Life, he observed how the sheer intensity of city life, the rapid continuous shifts of stimuli, profoundly impacted individual psychology.
He saw it creating a distinct metropolitan type of personality.
Yeah, and what's fascinating is how he described people coping.
Coping mechanism, right.
To deal with that sensory overload, Simmel said, city dwellers developed this intellectualized, calculating, rational approach to life, relying less on emotional responses.
And that led to what he called the blasé attitude.
Exactly. That indifference, that inability to react strongly to new things because, you've kind of seen it all before. Everything feels a bit flat, a bit gray.
Like your senses are just overwhelmed, so your brain turns down the volume on emotional response to cope.
Right. And he also pointed to the money economy, how its quantitative, abstract nature reinforced that calculating mindset, reducing everything qualitative to quantitative terms.
Everything becomes a number, a price tag.
Yeah. And Simmel found that while the city offered this unprecedented individual freedom, freedom from the tight social control of small towns.
It also led to potential downsides.
Right. Increased psychological distance, impersonality, maybe a sense of isolation even when you're surrounded by people. Relationships become more fleeting.
And people might resort to sort of eccentricities just to feel like an individual, to not get swallowed by the anonymous crowd.
So this all raises a really critical question for today, doesn't it? If urbanization and the money economy already pushed us in that direction, what are the implications when AI, a system built entirely on data and algorithms, becomes central to how we design our cities?
Precisely. If Simmel saw that blasé attitude, that indifference emerging from sensory overload and quantification, what happens when our whole urban fabric is managed by algorithms designed for pure efficiency?
Could these highly optimized, data-driven cities inadvertently flatten, the complexity and richness of human experience, just reduce it all to metrics?
Could it make that blasé attitude worse by reducing daily life to just cold, hard data? Or further commodify everything?
It highlights this crucial tension, doesn't it?
Yeah.
AI gives us amazing insights, sure, but it has to be paired with empathy, with ethics, with deep community engagement.
Absolutely. The data should inform decisions.
Not dictate them. It's such a fine line to walk.
It really is. And our sources underscored that need for balancing innovation with human sensitivity when you integrate AI. The goal then has to be designing not only for efficiency, but for equity, for health, for joy,
Making sure AI augments human creativity and community resilience.
rather than just automating things away. And those conference discussions, they tackle this head on, exploring human-centered algorithms versus machine-centered algorithms.
Recognizing that the human experience has to stay front and center.
Exactly.
Okay, so to recap then, we've seen how AI offers these incredibly powerful tools. Tools to make our cities more responsive, accessible, community-informed, climate-conscious. All good things.
Potentially transformative things.
Yet we've also brought in these historical insights, reminding us about the psychological complexities of just living in a city and the potential pitfalls of maybe over-optimization.
Right. So the future of smart cities, it's not just about automation, is it?
No.
It seems to be about augmentation, using AI to amplify human creativity, human connection, community resilience.
The goal isn't simply building cities that are intelligent,
Yeah.
but building cities that care.
That's a great way to put it. So the final thought for you listening. As this technology continues to evolve at lightning speed, how can you actively engage with these ideas? How can we all ensure that the increasingly intelligent cities of tomorrow genuinely foster human well-being, celebrate our uniqueness, and prioritize the richness of lived experience over mere efficiency?